così sigilleli Africa, Pan-Africanism.
Renaissance with African unity. Africa in history used to have a great civilization with international participation on business, economic and social sector. However, this history is a denied, buried story. This denial starts with Westerners' slave trade and period of colonization. The image of painting Africa as a poor, dark and ignorant continent still continues today as a great propaganda tool. Even after the period of colonization for the past 60 years, Westerners are manipulating African resources with their new tactics of neo-colonization. In order to achieve this goal, African countries are not allowed to have a stable government and political system. If an African leader is allowed to lead his country with peace and stability, he must first be a puppet for his old lords and govern a banana republic. However, in recent days, the arrival of China and other Eastern countries to the continent as a competitive force against the West has created a new power balance. In addition to this point, the awakening of Africans looking for a new horizon of hope has created a new dynamics for a change. The motto of Africa for Africans by Africans is getting a new ground to become a truth. This fact has stopped the dream of superpowers to establish a second colonization on our continent, opening a new gate for African renaissance. The question to be asked now is that how the political leaders should shape the blooming dynamic generation. The struggle to answer this great question will for sure create a great African generation. The generation coming forward at present day should know he is an African beyond his passport. It is must to link up the youth from Addis Ababa with his Dar es Salaam, Casablanca, Cape Town, Cairo, Lagos and Harare comrades. We must not limit ourselves on the case of Nile. The issue of the Red Sea is also our own issue. Beyond achieving self-sufficiency with food and energy, it is must to build an economic capacity which can penetrate the neighboring countries and international market. It is the duty of this generation to understand the changing international power balance and manipulate it for an African interest. This new international competition has made our continent and the Horn of Africa a new running field and track. The new international phenomenon and technology is forcing Africa under influence even with our silent eyes and arms. As Africa is dependent on superpowers, every international competition is forcing the continent to be a participant. The international power struggle in Africa has three influences. The first one is having a coup d'etat or a regime change. The superpower countries don't want to see an African leader who is not protecting their interest or partnering with their enemies on a leadership chair. Creating a mutiny in the army, shaking the unity of citizens or political parties is the new drama of imperialism in Africa. Their second strategy is creating instability in a country where a power is held with citizens' revolution. After a political change in a country, if the imperial powers think the change is against their interest, they will try their best to destabilize the government. The road for this is establishing revolutionary forces, declaring an economic embargo, media propaganda and diplomatic pressure. The third strategy is to try to bring African neighboring countries into a war conflict. With an illusion of a friend and enemy, it is their tactic to remove trustship from neighboring countries. It is the imperialist power's dream to see a divided African neighboring countries without unity and at best fighting a war. The best example for this is the hope of Sudan waging a war on Ethiopia and at the same time forcing a weak relation between neighboring countries. It is must to understand the continental influence in order to achieve a strong country. Even if Africa is free from colonialism, the continent is still swimming through the dark ocean of neo-colonialism. When it comes to our region, the Horn of Africa, the Red Sea is one center of competition for superpowers. The Red Sea is one of the key international trade routes. It is also a strategic center for navy powers. The economic or militaristic competition between international superpowers is dependent on their balance of power in the Red Sea region. Starting from ancient times, Ethiopia as a country has been in a compact relation with the Red Sea. While it had a port on the Red Sea, the country's influence on the geopolitics was high. However, when Ethiopia lost its grip on the Red Sea for the past 30 years, the influence it had on the region was also lost. Knowing this fact, the West has done its best to put away Ethiopia from the Red Sea. Although the Horn of Africa is a key strategic geopolitical region, as the countries in the region are in a civil war and without political stability, they stayed weak and without unity, not able to fight for their great goal and international interest in the Red Sea region. On the other side of the Red Sea, the Gulf countries with their strong economic power are achieving what's their own from the trade routes. Ethiopia lost its influence on the Horn of Africa because of colonialists and other powers. However, the potential opportunity for Ethiopia and the region countries had been there and is still waiting to be manipulated with the geopolitics position they are in, green fertile land they own, and a great number of population with young dynamic manpower. As the region is the center of attraction for all superpowers, no one wants the region countries to have a prosperous economy and achieve a political stability. The only way to pass through this geopolitical trick and resist the pressure from imperialist powers is to achieve a strong unity within a country and work for a peaceful relationship with neighboring countries. Unity is the only solution. In order to have a temporary economic assistance from the Gulf countries also, we must strengthen our grip on the Red Sea. However, this also needs a new disciplined generation with a great paradigm shift. Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed.